الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. Tonight we're going to continue with Aqsa al-Mukhtasara. We stopped in the chapter, or we finished last week, the chapter on containers and broken dishes and everything connected to that, plates or dishes that we eat on. And tonight, inshallah, we move to the chapter of Istinja. Fasl, Istinja. Now the first question is, does everybody know what Istinja is? Or who doesn't know what Istinja is? Usually people call it stinger. Stinger. I'm sorry, stinger. You know what stinger is? What is stinger? The real word is istinja. Istinja. What is stinger, as we say? To clean yourself after you use the bathroom. After using the bathroom to clean yourself. We're going to go into detail, inshallah ta'ala, because we got two things. We got istinja, then we have istijmar, which is a little different. We have al-istinja, and then we have al-istijmar. And there's a difference. There's a difference. Firstly, al-istinja, which we usually say istinja, right, is to clean yourself after using the bathroom, but specifically with water. Istinja, or stinja as we say, which really istinja, is cleaning yourself after using the bathroom with water, specifically. Now, what if a person doesn't use water? They use what? Toilet paper. In this case, it's not considered istinja.
What if it's water or the toilet paper?
If it's water. A combination of the two. What's being used to clean? Toilet paper is is it overwhelmed with toilet paper? Then there's some water on it, right? We might not be used to it here, but especially in Saudi, you go into the bathrooms, there's no toilet paper. It's water. There's nothing cleaner than water. That's why the first chapter is Kitab al-Tahara, the types of water. Cleanest thing that you can use to clean yourself is water. Right? You go into the bathroom, there's no toilet paper. It's not even a roll, not even a holder for the toilet paper on the wall, nothing. It's just water. You get me? Regardless of what you got to do in there, it's water. Al-istinja, it is to remove the najasa. As the ulama say, إِزَالَةُ مَا خَرَجَ مِنَ السَّبِيلَيْنِ بِمَاءٍ طَهُورٍ. It's cleaning off what came out of the private area, whichever one it is. Whatever you do with water. What type of water? Because there's three types of water. Tahur, the first type. Because the second type and the third type doesn't purify other things, right? So it has to be ma' tahur. This is al-istinja. You clean yourself after using the bathroom with water. If a person has to use tissue, or if a person uses tissue instead of water, then it's called istijmar. Istijmar. What's the difference? One is using water, one is not using water.
Are they both using reference to cleaning up bodily waste?
Yes. This is all referring to the removal of the filth, we'll call it. As they say, min as-sabilayn. Whatever comes out, one of the two body parts, one of the two private areas. Right? As we say, whether it's a number one or number two. The use of water is called al-istinja. When we clean, if we use water, and if we use, as we say, toilet paper, then it's called al-istijmar. Al-istijmar. طيب. Clear? Al-istijmar is not restricted to toilet paper. But when they mention it, they're going to mention what al-istijmar and what the word comes from. So قال المصنف رحمه الله الاستنجاء واجب من كل خارج إلا الريح والطاهر والغير ملوث. Al-istinja is, and now we gotta start paying attention because those 5 rulings are going to start coming up. Those 5 rulings that we spoke about, right, are going to start coming up. He says al-istinja'u wajibun. Something is wajib, that means what? No, obligatory. That's the translation of wajib. Islamically, if something is wajib, then if you don't do it, you're sinful and deserving of Allah's punishment. Cleaning yourself after using the bathroom, he says what? Wajib. Obligatory. To remove the filth. As this is from one of the conditions for the salah. Before we can even pray, we got to make sure all the clothes are clean from any filth. Clean from filth. Not clean like you spill something on it, and it's not, we call dirty. Clean from filth. Right? That your body is clean from filth. And in this case, after a person uses the bathroom, then it's filth on their body, whether it's urine or other than urine. Right? So, it's obligatory to clean that off, he says. Wajib. Which, you know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was passing by the grave, and 2 people being tortured in the grave. One person being tortured for what? Not properly cleaning himself. Tayyib. He said to clean yourself is obligatory for anything that comes out of, they call it a sabilain, which we say a number 1 or number 2, right? We can use that. Urine or defecation. Tayyib. Everything that comes out of the sabilain, those 2 body parts, except if it's wind, break wind. If somebody pass gas, that doesn't necessitate istinja. Right? If somebody breaks wind, it doesn't mean they have to go clean themselves with water or tissue. He says, also the exception of what comes out of the 2 areas, something that is pure. Something that is pure that comes out of the 3 areas. What's pure that comes out of the 2 areas? One of the 2 areas, possibly. Jaded. They mentioned a baby. It says, Semen, tayyib. Semen. Some semen, not all semen is pure. You gotta be specific. Some semen is najis. And many. Pre-semen doesn't necessitate a ghusl. It necessitates, it has to be cleaned off before you can pray. You're not talking about the ejaculation, you're talking about the pre-semen. It has to be clean, it has to be clean. Does it necessitate a ghusl? It doesn't necessitate a ghusl, but it does have to be clean. It does have to be clean before a person can pray. But it's still considered fine. It's still considered, it's not considered najis. طيب. I'm sorry. Did that make sense? The pre-semen is not najis. The pre-semen is not najis. Therefore, what? It doesn't have to be clean. طيب. وغير ملوث. وغير ملوث. And something that's not considered dirty. And they mention in the explanations, like, as they say, stones. Stones come out of there? It can, possibly. Yeah, kidney stones, right? Allah protect us all from that. Which means that there's specific things that don't have to be, or that don't necessitate the istinja, right? They don't necessitate the cleaning with water. I don't want anybody to get confused because we say stinja. We say stinja, but inshallah after this we're going to say istinja, instead of stinja. After that he moves on and he says sunnah. So out of the 5 rulings, because this is another ruling now, out of 5, he says sunnah. So which ruling is considered to be sunnah? Another word for sunnah. Recommended. Sunnah. Now he's going to mention 10 things that are recommended. Recommended. What does recommended mean? Islamically, not translation. The translation is mubah or sunnah is recommended. The translation of sunnah, we say recommended, right? But what does it mean if I don't do one of these things, nothing, or if I do one of these things?
You should do it, but you're not self-disciplined.
Right, that a person should definitely do them. If they don't do them, it's not a sinful thing for not doing it, but it's recommended to do them. He mentions 10 things. He says, وَالسُنَّةِ عِنْدَ دُخُولِ الْخَلَاءِ قَوْلُ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ اللَّهُمَّ إِنِّي أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنَ الْخُبُثِ وَالْخَبَائِثِ. The first one, to make the dua before entering the bathroom, the dua before entering the bathroom. Bismillah, Allahumma, O Allah, I seek your protection from khubuth wal khaba'ith, from the male devils, the male shayateen, and the female shayateen. O Allah, I seek your protection from the male shayateen, the male devils, and the female devils. As the bathroom is not a place that we should spend a lot of time in, but it's a place to, as we say, handle your business and then leave. It's not a place that we should spend a lot of time in without a necessity, without a need. Number 2. وبعد خروج منه غفرانك الحمد لله الذي أذهب عني الأذى وعافاني. Another dua when coming out of the bathroom. Another dua for coming out of the bathroom. In this chapter shows that Islam is complete. Everything has been covered. Everything has been covered. That we got a dua, we got a prayer when we go into the bathroom. There's another prayer that says when we come out of the bathroom. That we always should be connected to Allah Jalla wa'ala. In this dua, al-Ghufranik, where we say we're seeking Allah's forgiveness. And the question is, what is the benefit of seeking Allah's forgiveness after coming out of the bathroom? Huh?
Because of the lack of Allah. You can't be difficult. You can't remember. Not being able to remember Allah.
Not being able or not making dhikr at the time that the person is in the bathroom. The ulama explained a couple of different reasons. They say one reason is that they're not making dhikr of Allah during that time, that a person left off making the dhikr of Allah before that time. Meaning, Allah blessed us with food. Then He blessed us with the ability to digest the food without even thinking about it. Then He blessed us with the ability to pass the food out of the body, which if we don't, causes sickness, diseases, right? And then with all of that, at the time, we don't make dhikr of Allah. So when we come out, that a person seeks Allah's forgiveness for not making dhikr during that time period. Another explanation that they give is that a person, and this is how it's explained, a person goes into the bathroom, as we say, they go in heavy and they come out light. Right? They go in heavy and they come out light. And they say when they come out light, it should be a reminder of them of the sins that we removed Yawm al-Qiyamah. Right? So a person wants to be lighter as far as sins are concerned Yawm al-Qiyamah. So that they make, when they ask Allah for forgiveness, Ghufranik, they say, Ghufranik, oh Allah, forgive me. All praise is for the one who removed from me the harm and He protected me. That harm is removed from the body which is the food passing, which if it doesn't pass, then it can cause disease and sickness. طيب. Number 3, he says, وَتَغْطِيَةُ الرَّأْسِ. وَتَغْطِيَةُ الرَّأْسِ. Covering the head. Covering the head. Some of these things may be, and the earlier man mentioned this hadith. This hadith that supports this. They say the hadith is not authentic. And they still explain the book because the books are not written to critique the author on everything he brings. So yeah, this is not the place for that. You understand the author's opinion, maybe he doesn't see the hadith to be weak, so he uses it. Other ulama say, no, the hadith is weak. Point being, they still explain his words, which they say, it's asl, that the more a person is covered, the better. The more a person is covered, the better. Everybody with me? Meaning, the more the outer is covered, the more you're covered, especially in a situation like this. Because all of these situations are not restricted to using the bathroom indoors. Right? We also talk about using the bathroom outdoors. It happens. Sometimes you're traveling, you're on the road, you're in traffic, somebody has to use the bathroom. What do we do? Huh? We pull on the side of the road. If we pull on the side of the road, there are rules, right? It's legislated rules and hikmah and sunnah that we should do, the Muslim. Every situation is covered. If we have to use the bathroom outside of a building, but it's outside of certain things that we should do. So he says, covering the head, one ti'ad, and wearing something on the feet. The person shouldn't go into the bathroom barefoot. Why not? It could be urine on the floor. It could be some najis on the floor. We don't know what the person before us or after us, especially we know in the public places, right? Or even sometimes as children, sometimes as kids, right? So in that case, in order to make sure you don't get any najis on you, right? Anything filthy on you that's going to prevent you from being able to pray.
So is the usher of the floor in the bathroom dirty?
It's the usher of the floor. No, the usher of the floor is tahara, that is pure earth. But if there's signs,
I was thinking like if you walk into a bathroom with your sneakers on and you come out, like you said, in a public place, but that's why that's about the usher. As far as if you go in the bathroom, are your sneakers still cool to pray in?
that's a good question.
But you said it has to be something there for you to come in.
Right. First of all, if you're going to pray in your shoes, and if that happens, then we need to know the right way to pray in shoes. Shouldn't have any najis on it. Shouldn't have any urine on the bottom of it. But all of that has to be confirmed first before you say, I can't pray in these or something like that. Okay? And there's other issues connected to the shoes, but we won't go into that right now. طيب. It says number 4, وَتَقْدِيمُ رِجْلِهِ يُسْرَى دُخُولًا. To enter into the bathroom with the left foot first. Number 4, to enter the bathroom with the left foot first. I'm sorry, this is number 5 now. This is number 5. Number 4 was wearing shoes in the bathroom. Number 5, to go in the bathroom with the left foot. To step into the bathroom with the left foot is what? Sunnah. As the Prophet ﷺ used to love to start things with his right. And we're going to go, it's going to come up again in a little more detail on why that is. طيب. He says, number 6, اعتماده عليها جالسا. And to support yourself on your left leg or your left foot when you're sitting down. Does anybody know how that works? To support yourself on your left foot or your left leg, your left side when you're sitting down. And lean to the left. It might not, well, the type of bathrooms we have might be hard to picture. But, inshallah, if you make Hajj or Umrah, you go into the bathroom, they call the bathrooms, I think they call it European bath. I can't remember the name of them. If you want to Google them and see them, it's a picture. It's a We say a hole in the ground, which it is a hole, but you know, it's respectably a hole in the ground. So if you use those bathrooms, you squat. You gotta squat, right? You gotta squat down to use the bathroom, which means if you were to squat down to use the bathroom, they're saying to lean to the left side. The left side is always used for cleaning. Whenever it comes to cleaning something, or something that has some filth connected to it, that we should use the left. You see it?
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
I just put hole in the ground.
Yeah, I mean,
Squat toilet.
no, it's not called a squat toilet. They got like a clean name, squat toilet now.
Yeah, I didn't really see it.
It's a nice name for it. I can't remember it though. But that's it.
Oh, latrine.
A latrine.
Yeah, that's what it says. Squat latrine.
Latrine. If you want to look it up and see what it looks like. In that case, you would lean to the left, as it says, where timadu alayha jalisan. If you were sitting down, you had to squat down, you would lean to the left. It says, وَالْيُمْنَا خُرُوجًا, stepping out of the bathroom with the right foot. Stepping out of the bathroom with the right foot. So we step into the bathroom with the left foot after saying the dua before going into the bathroom, right? That was number 7, yes. Then we step out of the bathroom with the right foot. He says, Aksu masjidin wa na'lin wa nahwihina, which is the opposite of going into the masjid. When you go into the masjid, you should go in with the right foot, and you should come out with the left foot. When you go into the house, you should go in with the right foot, you should come out with the left foot. As the house, a person's home, should be a safe, honorable place. Honorable things with respect, honor, to begin with the right. Going into the house, going with the right foot. Coming out of the house into the dunya, where it's a lot of evil spread, and we come out with the left. Going into the bathroom, filth, dirt, right? Urine and everything else. Go in there with the left and come out with the right. Tayyib. It says, which is number 8, وَبُرْدٌ فِي فَضَائٍ. If you're outside in an open place, that you should go far away from people as possible. Clear? So now the question is it permissible to use the bathroom outside? That's the question. Is it permissible for us to go outside, for a man or a woman to go outside and use the bathroom? That's the question. That's the number 1 question. It's permissible with conditions. Conditions. Now, when we say if it's permissible or not, that has nothing to do with your personal preference. We're not talking about personal preference. What I would do, what I think is the best thing to do. Islamically, is it punishable? Is it haram? Is it wajib? Is it sunnah? Islamically, for a person to use the bathroom outdoors. Clear? You see the distinction. It's not about what I think, how I feel. I wouldn't let my wife do that. I don't want my husband doing that. That's not the case. It's not about the feeling. Is it permissible or not? Is it sunnah or not? Is it recommended? Is it, you with me? It's a difference, and that's for everything. Ahkam, those 5 rulings are not connected to my personal, what I personally feel about it, what I would personally do in a situation. If a situation happens like that, what's the hukum? What's the ruling on it? Clear? Tayyib. So, burdun fi fadahin. If a person, he has to use the bathroom outdoors, that they should go far away as possible from people, far away from people as possible. Tayyib. Clear? Why? So you don't expose yourself. So you don't expose your odor to the people. Right? The further away you are, the less a person can actually see. It might look like a human, but they might not even know what the person is doing. And especially if a person is covered, and something else is going to come up a little later regarding using the bathroom outside and how to use the bathroom outside. He says next, وَطَلَبُ مَكَانٍ رِخْوٍ لِبَوْلٍ. If a person uses the bathroom outside, that they should use the bathroom on a surface that is soft, which would not be, it wouldn't be concrete, right? Something that's soft. Grass or dirt. What's the benefit of that? So it don't splash back on you. If it splashes back on you, if something splashes back on you, now you have to remove that off before you can pray in it. All of that's part of removing the filth, right? The Muslim is clean. The Muslim is clean. So you find a place soft so that when you use the bathroom, that it doesn't splash back on your shoe, on your clothing that you don't see. You don't want any filth on the body. طيب. It says, وَمَسْحُ ذَكِرِ بِالْيَدِ الْيُسْرَى إِذَا انْقَطَعَ الْبَوْلُ مِنْ أَصْلِهِ إِلَى رَأْسِهِ ثَلَاثًا وَنَدْرُهُ ثَلَاثًا. This is number what? 10. It's number 10.
Number 9.
La. Number 8 was using the bathroom, going far away, right? If you're outside. Number 9 was seeking something that's soft. Number 10, and this is the last one mentioned here, and then he moves to another section. Number 10, and this is for the men. After using the bathroom, and the ulama differ on this one, as they say that this may cause harm to the body. And it's basically a description to make sure with the left hand, not with the right hand, to make sure that all of the urine is finished. That you're not still, as we say, leaking. Right? Make sure that you finish, that all the urine is finished. And that's for somebody, and they say that you do that by because he gives 2 descriptions here. Number 1, and again, all the ulama don't agree with this, that they say it could cause harm to a person for the second part. They say number 1, by rubbing the penis and to make sure that all the urine is out. And they describe it, real descriptive. From the asl, until the ras. From the top of the penis to the bottom of the penis, to make sure all the urine is out. What's so important about this? Because there's no shyness in these things, we gotta say it. If a person doesn't do that, and there's urine still leaking, right, and they leave out of the bathroom like that, that means they have urine on their clothes now, which means they can't pray like that. Cannot pray like that. And some of the ulama mentioned that istinja, cleaning yourself after the salah. Cleaning yourself after using the bathroom. Some of the ulama say that this is a condition for the wudu to be correct. That's how serious it is to clean ourselves. A condition, a shart. Meaning, if a person didn't clean themselves, and they would have made wudu, and didn't clean themselves, that the wudu doesn't count. Now what if a person does that, then goes and pray? They do that, and then they go pray like that. Right? The wudu is connected to the salah. Cleaning ourselves after using the bathroom is connected to removing any filth from our bodies or our clothing. Now, if a person did that, then they say, let me go back and make a istinja. What's the problem now? It's on the clothes. It's on the underclothes. Now it's on the underwear. You understand what I'm saying? Therefore, it's important. It's important. And even go as further to say that a person should totally make sure that there's no urine in there. And we'll leave that other part out of it. Clear? 10 recommended things so far. Now he moves to another category from the 5 categories, from the 5 rulings, and he says, well, kuriha, disliked, right? Is disliked. These things are disliked. And he mentions 6 things. What does it mean when something is makruh, disliked? There you are. It shouldn't be done. But if a person does it, it's not sinful. It doesn't reach the level of being haram. But you definitely shouldn't do that. Is it sinful? No, it's not sinful, but it's something that a person should stay away from. It says, وَكُرِهَ دُخُولَ خَلَاءٍ بِمَا فِيهِ ذِكْرُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Number 1, to enter the bathroom, when you get ready to use the bathroom, with anything that has Allah's name on it. Anything that has Allah's name on it. Or not just the name Allah, Asma'illah, or Allah's attributes, any of Allah's names, to go into the bathroom where anything that has Allah's name on it is disliked. They say, illa bihaja, except if it's like a necessity. Meaning, if you leave it outside of the bathroom, somebody's going to steal it. Right? Something's going to happen to it. Leave it outside of the bathroom, something worse might happen to it. But is this like to take anything that has Allah's name on the inside of the bathroom?
You mean as far as cover or for like inside the actual book? Or inside the actual, like, if it's a book?
Anything that has Allah's name, even if it's a book. Anything that has Allah's name on it should not be taken into the bathroom. Why not? The bathroom is dirty. It's filthy. It's a filthy area. So they say ta'zeeman, out of respect for Allah's names and attributes. You don't take the Muslim, you don't take the Quran in the bathroom. Right? You don't take the speech of Allah into the place where people go and relieve themselves. Let alone putting Allah's name on a shirt, a t-shirt. Right? But some people put it on the shirt. Now as a Muslim, if you put Allah's name on your shirt, right, and you got to use the bathroom at some point during the day, what you going to do now when you go to the bathroom? People do what? They might flip it inside out. Maybe that's, you know what I'm saying? But as Muslims, we have to think when we use it. All right, if I'm aware of this, what am I doing when it's time to use the bathroom? Now I got to go take it in the bathroom. It's Allah's name. It's not a place. The bathroom is not a place to have out of respect for Allah's name. It's not a place for that. Or rings, or the chains we used to wear back in the day. And the law chains. The bracelets, that it shouldn't be. Now, if a person can leave it outside of the bathroom, that's one thing. But sometimes the situation is, right, you might not be able to do that. Right? And if that's the case, if it's a need, then they should say you should at least tuck it as much as possible. Tuck it away as much as possible. But the second thing, وَكَلَامٌ فِيهِ بِلَا حَاجَةٍ, to speak while a person is using the bathroom. To speak while a person is actually using the bathroom, if it's not a necessity. If it's not a necessity. The necessity they explain, or whatever I use to explain the necessity, they say, you're using the bathroom, for example, and let's just say you're outdoors, you can see somebody's get ready to get hurt, right? Maybe it's a baby get ready to crawl out. Maybe anything. Anything that you see that a person could potentially be hurt or harmed, even if you're using the bathroom in that case, the dislike is removed. And you say something, you don't let a baby walk into the street because you was using the bathroom, and the brother said that it's dislike not to say nothing while using the bathroom. Right? That's darura, it's necessity at that point. It's necessity, so you warn the person, right? You warn the person from the danger that's in front of them, that they might not see, and you see it. Clear? Everybody with me? That's why they say, kalamun fihi bila haja, to talk without a need. There's no need to be talking at that time. Somebody comes and they're talking about any old thing. Everything doesn't warrant a response in that case. And even in the explanation, they discuss, even if somebody was to give you the salams, as they mentioned in hadith, the man gave the Prophet the salams while he was using the bathroom, he didn't respond to him. He didn't respond to him. Clear? Number 3, he says, رَفْعُ ثَوْبٍ قَبْلَ دُنُوٍ مِنَ الْأَرْضِ. Say if a person has a thobe on or a zar, or whatever they have on there outside, because this applies to women too. This applies to women. Using the bathroom, the rulings and the ahkam of using the bathroom outside applies to women. I'm not talking about what you want your people to do. My folks, I ain't with that. No. You're in traffic, going to New York, like we did it like a couple months ago, got stuck in traffic. The person has to use the bathroom. As Muslims, what do? How do we carry ourselves? Clear? That's what we talk about. We're not talking about preference. We're not talking about preference. We're talking about situations where it has to happen. It says, number 3, that is dislike, raising the thobe before a person is close to the ground. Before a person squats. Why is it dislike to raise your thobe before you're close to the ground, before you squat? Huh?
This on the inside or the outside?
You outside. Exposing yourself. Everything is about keeping yourself covered. That you don't stand, and yes, you have to use the bathroom, and it's a normal situation. You just start basically undressing in front of, you don't know who's watching. You're trying to be as far away as possible, but still we want to be as indiscreet as possibly can. We still don't want to be noticed that we're using the bathroom outside. If we have to use the bathroom outside, that's the way we go about doing it. طيب. Number 4. وَبَوْلٌ فِي شَقٍّ وَنَحْوٍ. To use the bathroom, urinate in a, not a ditch, like a little hole. You with me? You're using the bathroom outside. You don't aim for the hole intentionally. Why? Because let's just say, yes, let's say, you're outside, right? It's a whole field. Say it's a whole field. Plenty of places to use a bathroom. Once you go to where you're going to use the bathroom, you notice a hole there. But you don't urinate in there. Because a person might say, I don't want to get urine all over the place. I don't want to spread the filth. So I'm going to just urinate in the hole to keep it condensed. The hole is there. You're not like you're digging a hole. You walk, it's a hole there. So a person may say, I don't want to spread, I do have to use the bathroom, and it is what it is, but I don't want to have it all over the place. I want to try to condense it and keep it not to harm animals that may live in the hole. Allahu Akbar. As the other man said, it shows the completeness of Islam. Not to harm animals, insects, whatever may live in that hole is there for a reason. Something's living in there. Not to harm those animals that may live in the hole. طيب. Number 5. وَمَسْلُ فَرْجٍ بِيَمِينٍ بِلَا حَاجَةٍ. Or to touch the dislike, to touch the private part with your right hand, and there's no need to. To touch your private part with your right hand without a necessity, without a need. That means istinja should be made with what? The left hand, right? And then we shake each other's hands with the right hand. So who makes istinja with their right hand and then come and shake everybody's hand with the right hand? Right? Adab, it's not from the manners and the adab of a Muslim. That we clean ourselves with our left and then we use the right for things that are honorable. Shaking hands, giving and taking things. That's why people say, excuse my left. Excuse my left, right? Excuse my left. I'm not saying it's a hadith, but it has an asl, it has some basis in the religion. That the left is used for things that are filthy, dirty, and the right is used for things that have more respect and honor to them. طيب. He says the last thing that's disliked was istiqbalu niyarain. To face, when you're outside, of course, outside facing niyarain, which is, if you're outside in the open, to face the sun or the moon. That you're actually facing the sun when you urinate or facing the moon when you urinate. They say out of respect for the sun and the moon, and that hadith also that is used. There's a hadith for that. There's a hadith that is used for that. And some of the ulama argue that that hadith is not authentic. So some don't hold that to be from the things that are disliked. Clear? Of course, we're not reading all of the dalil attached to everything. But that doesn't mean it's not dalil because this is not that level book. But even when we say they have dalil, some argue the dalil. So our intent is to understand the text of the book, the author. طيب. Now he moves on to another section, which is haram. What is haram? Because he says these things coming now are haram. So what does it mean if something is haram? It's sinful and it's deserving of Allah's punishment. Not just haram is, yes, it's the opposite of halal, but what does that mean Islamically? If I do these things, it's a sin, number one, and number two, it's deserving of Allah's punishment. طيب. He says the first thing, حرم استقبال قبلة استقبال قبلة واستقبالها في غير بنيان. Number one, haram is if you're outside using the bathroom, haram to what? Face the qibla. The way we pray, that you don't stand up or kneel and urinate in the same direction that we pray in. And you don't turn your back directly to the qibla. So we have two things. We don't face it with our front, and we don't face it with our back. We're talking about when we're what? Outdoors. Not when we're indoors. Everybody understand the difference? Indoors is something blocking you. Outdoor, directly facing the prayer direction with nothing in front of you. Out of respect for the qibla, the prayer direction that the Prophet ﷺ in authentic hadith mentioned that you don't face the qibla or turn your back towards the qibla when you're using the bathroom, the prayer direction. That's number one. Number two, he says, وَلُطْفٌ فَوْقَ حَاجَتِهِ. Also, under haram, to stay in the bathroom longer than you need to stay in there. To stay in there longer than necessary. Which means we shouldn't be doing what in the bathroom? On your phone, okay? Yeah, on your phone. All right. I was going to say reading the newspaper, but I guess that's old. Reading the magazine. But yeah, we should be on the phone surfing the internet in the bathroom. We should use the bathroom and get out of the bathroom according to the need. That don't mean that you don't stay in there as long as you need to stay in there. You use the bathroom as long as you need to be in there, and then leave the bathroom. It says, and number three, the third thing, وَبَوْلٌ فِي طَرِيقٍ مَسْلُوكٍ وَنَحْوٍ وَتَحْتَ شَجَرَةٍ مُثْمِرَةٍ ثَمَرًا مَقْصُودًا. Also, haram to urinate or use the bathroom in the place, a pathway that people use. Just to urinate in the pathway. Right? Or we say that the street, something, alleyway, that people come through, they come and go and use the thing. They use that area to walk. Or even urinating under a tree that has some shade, that has some fruit maybe growing under it. Maybe it's an apple tree, or whatever type of tree it is, but something's coming from it that people benefit from. Haram to use the bathroom under that tree or under that shade. Clear? And they mention a little more detail to any place that people seek for shade. It's known that people use these areas for shade. That it's not permissible to use the bathroom in those areas. Like what? For us. We gotta make it fit for them. We gotta know what we're talking about. For us, people use this for something here all the time for shade. Huh? A pavilion? Definitely a pavilion. But what else? A bus stop. People use the bus stop for shade. Right? You don't pull over, urinate in the bus stop. People gotta come there, sit in the morning, going to work. They use it for shade. Old people sit down. Right? People got kids, they come to sit down and somebody urinates. It's not permissible to urinate in them type of areas. And they say also the same thing applies in the wintertime. In the wintertime, where people might use the sun for heat. This is a sunny area that is no shade comes here, so people stand here to gain heat during the wintertime. That is not permissible to use the bathroom in those areas also. Now he moves on to istijmar, or some more things that are recommended. But now we're talking about istijmar. Istijmar is what? Huh? Tissue, not water. Oh, without water, yeah, without water. We're saying tissue because that's what we use. But it could be, as it comes in other books, rocks, stones. And then they even describe the stone, what kind of stone. Not every stone is allowed to use. السنة استجمار ثم استنجاء بماء. So it is recommended to make istijmar, let's say with tissue, and then after that, water. Which means you're using both, right? To use, let's say use tissue first, and then after the tissue use water. That is recommended to do that. What's the benefit of that? use both. Yeah. We get everything. We try to be clean as possible. The Muslims, we're supposed to be clean. To be as clean as possible. طيب. He says, وَيَجُوزُ الاقتصار على أحدهما. But it's permissible just to do one or the other. It's permissible to do one or the other. It's meaning it's permissible to just use water only, and it's permissible to just use tissue. It's permissible to only use water, and it's also permissible to only use tissue. Clear? They say, but which one is better? Water. Why is water better? Huh? It's a purifier. It's the cleanest thing you can use. And they say the ulama have made ijma' consensus that it's okay, it's permissible to use one or the other. And it's not like, it's not like a tayammum. It's not like you gotta run out of water. There's no water around, so I gotta use tissue. That's not the case. A person can use water, a person can use tissue. But what's better is to use water. Of course, that's better. طيب. Now he brings a term. He brings a term here, which is an additional word used for ahkam, used for rulings, which is la yasihhu. Something is either sahih or it is batil. Either it is sahih or it's not sahih. It's two things. The first one is sahih. This is another ruling. So now we have the 6. We got the first 5 we spoke about, right? And then we have, this is number 6. Sometimes it's going to come a lot. They're going to say, la yasih. It's not correct, right? Which means, if we translate it, it's not valid. So, for example, a salat, a person could have prayed, or they could have made wudu, and they say, wudu la yasih. It's not a valid wudu like that. A person prayed the salat, they stood up, they prayed all the stuff, but they missed something, so they say the salat, la yasih. It's not valid. That's not a valid prayer, which means what? They got to do it over, whatever that act is. طيب. He says, لا يصح استجمار إلا بطاهر. Now he brings 4 conditions for the istijmar, which is not using water. When we use tissue, there are 4, or I'm not going to say tissue, there are 4 things that have to be present for a person not to use water, whether it's a rock, or whether it is, as they say, a piece of cloth. You're not saying, well, we use a piece of cloth. You never know what the situation is, right? Unless you have toilet paper in your back, in your trunk, right? And you're stuck in traffic, and you got to get out of the car, right? And you don't have toilet tissue, you don't have tissue. What you going to do? You might have to use cloth. You might have to use a leaf. You might have to use something to give the job what needs to be done. So we're not talking about preference, we're talking about what we can do and what we can't do. Like, it has to be tahir. It has to be something that's pure. It's not already najis. Right? It's not something that's already has filth on it. You want to use something that has filthy to clean your filth off yourself, spread the filth. Clear? Mubah. Something that's permissible for us to use. Something that's permissible for us to use. So, meaning, for example, we shouldn't steal something and say, I'm going to steal this and just use it to clean myself. Right? That's not the way of the Muslim. Right? That's not the way of the Muslim. I'm going to steal this, I'm going to just take this. And some of us even go even farther. We think, some people think because they're not Muslims, that we can violate and transgress and then say, well, they're not Muslim anyway. That's not, nowhere we find that in the Quran or Sunnah or Prophet. It has to be mubah, something that is permissible for us to use. Yabis, dry. It should be something that's dry. And something that is actually going to be able to remove the filth. Meaning some materials are too fine. If you wipe something with it, they won't come up. Right? Some material, if you wipe a liquid, it doesn't catch the liquid. So whatever you use, and it has to be something that's going to catch the filth and remove the filth. Everybody clear? Clear? طيب. Now he flips back and says, well, haruma. Also, things that is haram, not permissible to use to make istijmar, outside of water. We're talking about istijmar, we're not using water. Lirothin, which is animal dung, manure. Person might say, who's going to use that, right? But there's a hadith where the Prophet specifically prohibited us from using manure and bones. That we don't use bones, we can't use bones, right? That's number 2. Or ta'am, food. Who would use food? It's possible. You never know, man. You happen to pull over. It's okay. Somebody got cabbage they growing in their backyard. Allah stuff. You never know. We're not saying that we're going out looking for food to use and make a sinjah. That's not what we're doing. If the case comes up, right, and you have the option in front of you, then you don't take the option of using food. You don't take the option of using bones. You exert all your efforts to find something else, because we know the Prophet said don't use manure, don't use bones for a specific reason. And that reason is, he said, that manure and the bones is the food for our brothers from the jinn. The jinns eat bones and manure, dung they call it. Right? So we don't use that. Not that we would use manure, but there's a reason behind it. The authentic hadith, the Prophet said why we don't use bones or manure. It's the food of the jinn. Our brothers from the jinn, as he said in the hadith, ta'am, food, out of respect, the food can be used to eat. It's something that's honorable, food. Anything that has honor and respect connected to it. And then he mentioned specifically kutub al-ilm, books of knowledge. Who would use a book of knowledge? That's not the case. But we're talking about severe conditions. We're talking about a serious condition, right? A person may say, I don't have water, we don't have toilet tissue, right? There's nothing out here. And they say, what? Hand me that book, I'm going to just use a page. I'm going to use paper. There's no najis on the paper, right? And they start going through their whole thing. Not that they want to do that, but it's a situation. We're talking about we're in a situation. We Muslims, we're in a situation. How do we practice Islam in this situation? If that's the case, we shouldn't use a kutub, a kitab, a book of ilm, a book that has some Islamic knowledge in it to use to clean ourselves. It says, وَمُتَّصِلْ بِحَيَوَانٍ. Also, anything. Again, y'all, this is not, and if you haven't lived in these areas, it might seem far-fetched, some things. But Islam and ahkam rulings are not based on the way we live. Islam is for the world. It's not based on us in Philadelphia on the east coast of America, that little bubble. Islam is for the world, and people go through and have different living conditions. It's not permissible to use anything connected to an animal. Anything that's connected to an animal, right? Or an animal itself. Everybody clear? Person grabs an animal or grabs a portion of the animal and use it to clean themselves after they use the bathroom. It's not permissible to do that. Alhamdulillah, we don't have, we're not in situations like that, but exposure will show you that these things are not as far-fetched as you think they are. Traveling and going to different places and going and seeing different communities and different cultures will show you that everybody doesn't live the way we live. So you can't look at it and say, this is crazy. These are ulama scholars with these books. It's not regular people writing books. These are scholars talking about ahkam al-shari'iyah, Islamic rulings. What's halal, what's haram. This is not, they're not joking. This is serious. We might look at it and say, who does that? It's not built. This book is not built for Philly. This book is built for the dunya. There's people all over the world reading this book, not just here. He says, lastly, and we'll stop here, and next week we'll pick up, inshallah ta'ala. He says, وَشُرِطَ لَهُ عَدَمُ التَّعَدِّ خَارِجِ الْمَوْضِعِ الْعَادَةِ. It's a condition, he says, shuriba, which is another thing that we're going to get to, inshallah. It's a condition. Meaning, if this thing is not done, then we'll leave it with the mean. We'll just leave a condition. It's a condition that in order not to use water, water is istinja, water, but we don't have to use water all the time. I'm in a situation I'm using tissue. If I'm going to use tissue or a leaf or anything outside of water, it's a condition to do that. طيب, it says, عدم التعدي خارج موضع العادة, that the filth that came out, or the urine, defecation, whatever came out, that whatever you're cleaning, it hasn't gone past the normal place of exiting. Urine comes from the penis, whatever that is in that, you clean in that area, which means if urine were to get on your foot while you're using the bathroom, you can't just wipe that with a tissue. Clear? If it goes outside of the normal area that it comes out of, you can't just use, it needs to be cleaned with what then? Water. If it's not in the normal place where it usually comes out, right? It's not in the normal place where the urine comes out, right? It hits the knee, it hits the ankle, it hits the foot, you're outside, stuff happens. You can't just wipe it with a tissue. No. In order to wipe with tissue, it has to be in a direct area where it comes out of. Clear? That area can be cleaned with tissue. If it gets on something else, you're outside, the wind blowing, it splashes on the arm, it splashes on your leg, something like that, it has to be cleaned with water in order to remove the filth. Which means if it gets on the arm, if it gets on the foot, if it gets on the shin, and the person wipes it, that means they still have what on them? Najis, they still have filth on them. Which means when they go to make wudu and they go to pray, you still got filth on them. And if you still have filth on you, when you go to the salat, that means you haven't fulfilled the conditions of the salat, which is removal of najasa, removal of really filth on the body, skin-wise, or on the clothing. All of that has to be clean before we can stand and pray. Clear? So, a person uses the bathroom, that's why it's important to pay attention to splashing, right? Men especially, which is difficult, especially for men. When you're talking about using those, to stand up. From standing, you gotta be, I'm not saying it's haram to use them, but you gotta be sure, you have to be sure, because the issue of standing up and urinating for men is an issue. It's not necessarily, it's not haram. The ulama deal with that. What are the conditions of standing up to urinate? Like, if that's the situation, that you gotta be sure that there's no filth splashing on your clothing. Because if it's filth on your clothing, then that means what? You can't pray in it, or you gotta clean the filth off. But if a person does that, splashing on them, then they go pray. Number one, it's a hadith about the man who didn't protect himself from the urine, being tortured in the grave. Secondly, how are we gonna pray like that? So that all has to be considered. So if it goes outside of the normal area that it comes from, it hits something else, then you can't just use tissue, water has to be used. Clear? طيب. Lastly, وَالثَّلَاثُ مَسَحَاتٍ وَنَقِيَ فَأَكْثَرُ. If a person is making istijmar with tissue, that the condition is that it has to be at least 3 wipes or more. At least 3 wipes or more. A condition means if a person only wipes twice, then what? Then it doesn't count. It has to be at least 3 wipes. This is the hadith of the Prophet.
So you're saying you had to be 3 wipes with istinja?
Like we're talking about istijmar. Talking about.
No, let's say like, so you go under 3 wipes, you got to fill with istinja?
No, you don't have to. You have to keep wiping until at least 3. At least 3 wipes. Clear? A person may say, and there's a hadith of the Prophet dealing with the exact number of if a person makes istinja, that it has to be at least 3 wipes. A person can't say I did 2 and I'm cool. No, the condition for making istijmar with tissue is that it has to be at least 3. What about water? How much water does a person have to use? When a person makes istinja, we know istijmar, when we use tissue, it has to be at least 3 wipes. When we use water, istinja, how much water we use? As much as you need to make sure that the filth is removed. There's no set amount of water that has to be used for istinja. But for istijmar using tissue, there is a set amount. So it has to be 3 wipes, and this is important, we're going to stop here. He says, munaqqiya, 3 wipes that remove the filth. Because if you have 3 wipes, right, that didn't remove the filth, then that means what? It's still filth on it. So no, you don't just say, well, I wiped 3 times, like someone said. No. 3 times that removed the filth. It removed it. Now, if you wipe 3 times and the filth is still there, then what? You should wipe a 4th. And if you wipe a 4th, the ulama and longer books say, you should stop on an odd number with it. So you can stop on 4 as long as it's clean. But they say at that point it's recommended to do 5 to end on an odd number. A person doesn't have to do 5. They say it's recommended to do 5. Clear? 3 wipes, if we're using tissue, at least, bare minimum 3 wipes. But those 3 wipes have to remove the filth, the najasa. If the 3 wipes don't remove the filth, then we got to go at least 4. Recommended to do 5 to end on an odd number. Clear? At least 4. You got to wipe at least until it's clear. If it ends on 5, say you did 3 wipes and it wasn't, then you did 5. You did 4 and it still wasn't removed. The filth still wasn't removed, then you do 5. You do 5 and it's removed, alhamdulillah. It's removed and you ended on an odd number. Inshallah, we'll stop there. Any questions? Come on.
You said that it had to be dry and thick. So like, there's something as far as like a baby wipe, or like if you wet the tissue, would that not fall in like it's been wrong?
A baby wipe?
Because it's not dry. But it's not like soaked and wet, but it's not.
The best thing to do, because this what you have is wet tissue, which is a combination of 2, right? That's a combination of 2. It's tissue and it's wet. Like, of course, either one could be used. Water could be used alone, or tissue could be used alone. So, what you want to do is, if something is doubtful like that, use something you're sure about. And maybe use something like a baby wipe, for example, as an addition. You with me? That's additional. But I know I can use tissue and I'm good, right? Okay, everybody with me? I can use tissue, dry tissue, and I'm fine. I can use water with no tissue, and I'm fine. But now I got a wet baby wipe, and I got water, and I got dry tissue. Okay? I can use the water and be fine. I can use the tissue and be fine, but I might want to use the tissue, and preferably, not Islamically, right? Not the Hukum Islamic ruling. I prefer to use a baby wipe also. Meaning, I don't have to use a baby wipe in this case, but I'm going to use it anyway. You understand what I'm saying? Go was clear, and anything else, use it as additional. This way you know you're safe. Clear? Any other questions? Follow.
So what like constitutes your clothing being clean or never? Like, do you have to clean it to the smell you're going, to the sight you're going? Like, say I'm peeing, like, to get on my shirt or my pants or something, it's like, oh, I gotta clean it. Do I clean it until I can't smell it no more? Do I clean it until the sight is gone? Like, what?
You should do both. Now, some things stain, right? Say if it's some najis that stains. If it's some filth that stains, then you clean it as much as possible. And that stain, as they say, is excused. Ma'fuun anhu is excused, the stain itself. But you want to clean it as much as possible with what? Water. You want to clean as much as possible with water. If it gets on your clothing or something like that. Anything else? I don't know if the sisters, if there's nothing else. Next week is the chapter of siwak. And the chapter of the siwak, miswak, and the sunan, the sunan, the recommended acts of wudu. And maybe we can do wudu also. Maybe we can do wudu also. The sunan, the recommended acts of wudu, and what's obligatory in wudu, inshallah ta'ala. طيب. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.